I want to start with a feeling that I think everyone listening has probably felt. You walk into a meeting, maybe it's a Zoom call, and the air is just heavy.
Right.
Nobody's yelling. In fact, it's the opposite. It's dead silent, maybe a little too silent.
Hmm.
And your gut reaction is to just, keep things polite,
Yeah.
get through it, and get out of there. We think that if no one's fighting, we're winning, right? Like silence equals success.
It's the classic peace at all costs idea.
Mhm.
But what we're going to unpack today is that, well, that silence is often way more dangerous than a shouting match.
That's a scary thought.
Silence can be a lie.
Yeah, because we see conflict as a failure. Like, if my team is arguing, I've messed up, I've lost control. But the material we're diving into today just flips that completely on its head. It argues that conflict isn't just common, it's a structural certainty.
A structural certainty. I love that. Basically, if you don't have conflict, you might not actually be doing anything complex.
Uh-huh.
I mean, think about it. You've got limited money, competing deadlines, and smart, passionate people.
That's every project, ever.
Exactly. So friction is guaranteed. The source we're using today says conflict is a sign that complexity is alive. It means people are interdependent, and that interdependence is being tested. So the goal isn't to kill it, it's to engineer it.
Complexity is alive. It makes it sound almost like a heartbeat, not a disease.
That's a great way to put it.
So let's introduce our guide for this. Today we're doing a deep dive into the PMP Reasoning Architect by Orlando Casabone, specifically the chapter on how to manage conflict.
And this is such a critical book to talk about. It's available on Amazon. And what makes Casabone's whole approach so different is right there in the title, The Reasoning Architect.
Right.
Most project management prep books, they just tell you the rules. If this happens, do that. But Casabone says the PMP exam, and frankly, real life, isn't about memorizing a playbook. It's about professional judgment.
So it's about how you think, not just what you know.
Precisely. The book's goal is to build a reasoning architect in your mind. We're shifting from just, keeping the peace to maintaining system integrity. It's a totally different mindset for a manager.
Okay, let's get into that architecture. The book starts by saying, before you even try to fix a fight, you have to diagnose it. Which, it sounds so obvious, right?
It does.
But in the workplace, we just jump straight to, hey, stop arguing and get back to work.
We do. We react to the noise instead of listening for the signal. So Casabone lays out this process. Step 1 is interpret.
Okay.
You have to figure out what kind of conflict you're actually dealing with. A fight about a deadline is not the same as a fight about personal values.
The source lists 4 types, and I think just knowing these is a superpower. First step is task-based conflict.
That's your standard, technical disagreement. We should use this software. No, we should use that one. It's about the work itself.
Yeah.
Honestly, these are usually pretty healthy.
Okay, then you've got process-based.
That's the who does what fight. All about workflow. Who's in charge of what? I thought you were supposed to send that email. It's usually a sign that the plan is a bit fuzzy.
And then it gets messy. Relationship-based conflict.
Oh yeah, this is the murky stuff. Personality clashes, emotional friction, just, I don't like your tone. This is what a lot of people think all conflict is, but it's really just one type. And it's the most destructive if you let it fester.
And the last one is value-based.
This is the deep stuff.
Yeah.
Your core beliefs. I value moving fast versus I value getting it perfect, or I value profit versus I value the user's privacy. These are tough because they're tied to our identities.
So the reasoning architect pauses and asks, okay, are they fighting about the code, which is the task, or are they fighting about who gets to approve the code, which is the process?
Exactly. And there's another layer here, timing. The book talks about latent conflict versus manifest conflict.
Latent. Okay, so that's like a dormant volcano. What does that look like in an office?
It's that meeting we talked about at the start. You pitch an idea and someone just crosses their arms, looks away and says, fine, whatever.
Ugh, yeah, the worst.
They haven't yelled, they haven't really argued, but the conflict is right there. It's latent, it's hidden. Manifest conflict is when it's out in the open. The shouting, the angry emails.
The passive-aggressive per my last email zone.
Exactly that. And the trick, and Casabone really stresses this, is timing your intervention. If you jump in when it's barely late and someone just rolls their eyes, you can look like a micromanager.
Right, controlling.
But if you wait until it's a full-blown explosion, you're not managing anymore. You're just doing damage control. You're a firefighter, not an architect.
So you have to catch it right as it's bubbling up, but before it boils over. Wow, that's a tightrope.
It is. So once you've interpreted the type and the timing, you move to step 2. Analyze context. And this is where this idea of diagnostic neutrality comes in.
I circled that phrase, diagnostic neutrality. It sounds very clinical.
It has to be a little clinical to work. It means you separate what's being expressed from what's being implied. Casabon says conflict is almost never just about the two people fighting. It's a symptom of the system.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Sure. Let's say two managers are screaming at each other about a line item in the budget. That's what's expressed.
Right.
But the implied problem might be that the company has given them conflicting goals. One gets a bonus for cutting costs. The other gets a bonus for launching a high-quality product, which costs money.
Ah, so they aren't actually enemies.
No, the system has made them enemies. Diagnostic neutrality is seeing that. You're not thinking Bob is being a jerk. You're thinking the system is forcing Bob to act this way.
That's a huge mental shift. It's not personal, it's structural.
That's the architect's view. You're not just a referee. You're checking the foundation of the whole building.
So once we've diagnosed the problem, we know the type, the stage, the cause, we need a treatment plan. And this is where the PMP reasoning architect offers a toolkit of strategies. And the author, Orlando Casabon, says these aren't personality traits, they're governance behaviors.
That is such a key distinction because most of us have a default style, you know. I might naturally be a compromiser, but as a reasoning architect, I can't just do what feels natural to me. I have to pick the right tool for the job.
Okay, let's go through the 5 main strategies, because a few of these sound, well, not like what you'd expect. Let's start with the gold standard, collaborating.
Collaborating is where you aim for what the book calls an integrative solution.
Whoa, hold on. Integrative solution. That sounds like a buzzword. What does it actually mean?
Fair enough. Okay, think of it like this. You want pizza for dinner. I want sushi. A compromise is we get a mediocre salad. Neither of us is happy.
Right.
An integrative solution is finding a really cool food hall where you can get amazing pizza, I can get amazing sushi, and we eat together. We both win.
That sounds perfect. Why not do that every single time?
Because it takes a ton of time and energy to find that food hall. Collaboration requires trust, creativity, and time. You use it for the big, high-stakes problems where you absolutely need everyone on board. You don't collaborate on which color Post-it notes to buy.
Okay, fair. So if we can't afford the gold standard, we have compromising. You just made that sound like a bad thing, though.
It's not bad. It's just a short-term fix.
Hmm.
In a compromise, everybody gives something up. It's really a lose-lose situation that we pretend is fair. It's useful when time is short, but the underlying issue is still there. I'm probably still going to want sushi tomorrow.
So it's a Band-Aid, not surgery.
Right.
Got it. Now, what about smoothing? To me, that sounds like toxic positivity. Come on, guys. Let's all be friends.
And it can be if you misuse it. But in this framework, smoothing is strategic. You're focused on psychological safety. You lower the temperature by emphasizing what you agree on. Look, we're all on the same team here.
But the root cause is still there.
It is. Smoothing is provisional containment. You use it to get through a crisis. You have a huge client presentation in 5 minutes. You can't have a meltdown now. You smooth it over, get through the meeting, and this is the important part, you have to come back to it later.
It's hitting the pause button on the fight. Okay. What about when you just have to make a call? Forcing.
Forcing is using your legitimate authority.
But doesn't that make you a dictator? Do it my way. That's got to kill morale.
It will, if that's your only move. But what if the building is on fire? You don't collaborate on which exit to use. You don't compromise and jump out a second-story window.
Hey, fair point.
No, you want someone to yell, "This way now." You use forcing for safety, for legal issues, for a hard deadline that's an hour away. It's not about being mean. It's about providing clarity when the team is stuck.
And the last one, the one we all probably do too much, avoiding.
Which sounds terrible, right? It's ghosting your problems.
Yeah.
But it can be strategic. If things are just too hot, if people are about to say things they can't take back, avoiding is the right move. You say, we are not talking about this right now.
A cooling off period.
Exactly. Or maybe you just need more information. Why argue if you don't have the data? The key is you don't just let it disappear. You schedule a time to come back to it.
And that leads to the ultimate goal of all this. The book says success isn't harmony, it's restored coherence.
I love that phrase. Coherence is essential. It means we all have a shared understanding of the decision and why it was made. Even if we don't all love it, we can move forward.
And to get there, you need more than just talk. You need artifacts. I know when people hear that, they think, paperwork.
Right.
But the PMP Reasoning Architect, again, by Orlando Casabone and on Amazon, calls them behavioral interfaces.
Which is such a brilliant frame. An artifact makes an invisible problem visible. When you write it down, you externalize it.
Externalize it.
Yeah. If you and I are arguing, it's personal. Me versus you. But if we write the problem on a whiteboard, now it's us, side by side, looking at it. The problem, it takes the emotion out.
So what are the key tools?
The big one is an issue log. You literally track the conflicts. What is it? Who's involved? What are we doing about it? It forces logic into a heated situation.
And then there's the team charter.
This is huge.
Yeah.
A team charter is like a prenup for your project.
A prenup, that's not very optimistic.
It's realistic. You agree on the rules of engagement before you start fighting. How do we make decisions? How do we escalate disagreements? Then, 3 months later, when things get tense, you just point to the charter. It's not you being the boss, it's the rules we all agreed on.
That makes so much sense. And for anyone in Agile, there's retrospective notes.
Exactly. In retros, you look for patterns. If the same tension comes up sprint after sprint, you don't just ignore it. You log it, you analyze it, you make it an action item. The system learns from its own friction.
Okay, let's make this real. Let's run a scenario from the book.
Let's do it.
Here's the setup. 2 senior developers, your best people, are at war over a front-end framework. One wants React for performance. The other wants Angular for scalability. They are dug in. Morale is cratering. What do you do?
Okay, so the amateur move is one or two things. You either just pick one that's premature forcing. We're using React, get over it.
Right.
Or you pull them aside and go, can't we all just get along? And that's just ineffective smoothing.
Both are wrong, according to the reasoning architect model.
Totally wrong.
Oh.
So let's use the steps. Step 1, interpret. What kind of conflict is this? It looks like a task conflict, a technical thing.
Okay.
Step 2, analyze. Why is this fight so intense? The root cause probably isn't the code. It's an organizational gap. We don't have shared architectural standards. The developers are basically filling a leadership vacuum with their own personal philosophy.
What's the action?
You facilitate a structured session. You don't decide for them. You bring them in, and you connect their technical choice back to the business value. You ask, what is the actual goal of this MVP? You create an artifact, a decision log.
And the resolution in the scenario is that they pick the simpler framework for now to meet the deadline, but they schedule a specific checkpoint to reevaluate for scalability later.
And boom, that's restored coherence. They didn't just compromise. They used collaboration to agree on the criteria for the decision. The manager didn't act like a dictator. They acted like a mediator. They elevated the conflict from a personal fight to a business decision.
It takes the emotion out by adding structure.
That's it, exactly. And that's what Orlando Casabone means by training your professional judgment. A simple test prep book tells you the answer is collaborate. A reasoning architect knows you collaborate on the criteria, and then you make a decision that protects the project's goals.
It really does seem like the PMP reasoning architect is trying to do something different.
It is. So much PMP prep is just memorization. This book, and yes, I'll say it again, The PMP Reasoning Architect by Orlando Casabone, find it on Amazon. It treats you like a manager, like an executive. It teaches you to think from first principles so you can solve any problem, not just the ones in the textbook.
It's building that mental framework. So as we wrap up, the big takeaway is that conflict management is an architectural skill.
It is. Master it, and you protect your project's integrity. You start seeing fights not as problems, but as data telling you where your system is weak.
And what are the big pitfalls to avoid?
Running to your boss too early, that's just dumping your responsibility.
Yeah.
Also, smoothing things over constantly. You're just putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. Eventually, the project will have a permanent limp.
And focusing on the symptoms, not the cause.
Always. If the schedule is slipping, don't just yell at people to work faster. Ask why. What conflict is slowing us down?
A perfect place to land. I highly recommend you check out The PMP Reasoning Architect by Orlando Casabone on Amazon. It really is more than a study guide. It's a manual for thinking clearly under pressure.
Absolutely. It makes you an architect, not just a bystander.
I want to leave you with one final thought. Look at your team tomorrow. And if you see zero conflict, everyone is smiling, everyone agrees instantly, ask yourself a hard question. Are we perfectly aligned, or are we just scared to speak up?
That's the one. True leadership isn't about getting rid of the noise. It's about designing a space where it's safe enough for disagreement to happen. Because if they aren't fighting in the open, they're probably giving up in private.
And that's a risk no project can afford. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.